We seem to be following a pattern when it comes to our reaction to the COVID-19 pandemic, ignoring the non-pharmaceutical guidelines, thinking the hassle is just too much. The problem with this pattern is those who followed it in other parts of the world are paying for it with their lives. Nigeria, and indeed the nation's capital, has been fortunate in the sense that deaths from COVID-19 have been relatively low compared to places like the United States and Europe, who interestingly have better health facilities and systems than Nigeria. These places are either experiencing or bracing up for second waves of infection and imposing stricter lockdown measures. Should the Federal Capital Territory Administration brace up for a similar situation? We assess the administration's capacity this week on Dateline Abuja. Hello and welcome to Dateline Abuja. I'm Kayla Megwa. One thing we can all agree on is that the non-pharmaceutical guidelines put forward by the National Center for Disease Control are being ignored by a large section of society. Will there be ramifications for this action? Certainly. Can the FCT administration handle these ramifications? Well, that's our interview section. We'll look at that then. But right now, let's take a look at our feature story, which aptly captures the COVID-19 pandemic situation in the FCT for the last 7 months, how things stand today, and plans for a safe future while living in the era of COVID-19. The Federal Capital Territory is the second most impacted sub-national with COVID-19 after Lagos State. The nation's capital is also the first to record a COVID-19 death in the country. On March the 30th, the FCT went into a complete lockdown and enforced adherence to the protocols, including restrictions of movements and placement of curfew.
Let me tell you something, they will protect you. They will come to
Fellow Nigerians.
However, following approvals from President Muhammadu Buhari, the nation's capital gradually reopened in the first, second, and now the third phase. In the third phase, the protocols were further relaxed. The phase is characterized by expanded reopening of schools for the 2020-2021 academic session, removal of limitation of civil servants allowed to come to work, sustaining a curfew between midnight and 4 a.m., and reopening of religious centers. This is in addition to other non-pharmaceutical measures, including physical distancing in public places, wearing of face masks, hand washing, and regular use of hand sanitizers. Nevertheless, government calls for caution as the nation opens up to the new normal.
States that have achieved the testing target of 1% of population are FCT has achieved that, and Lagos closely followed by 3 states that have crossed 50%. 26 states yet to reach 25% of testing target. The testing target is 1% of the population of each of the subnational jurisdictions. 26 other states are yet to measure up to 25% of the population, up to 25% of 1%, because the target is to test at least 1% of the population of every subnational jurisdiction. This is considered a serious problem, which is further compounded by the increasing general apathy and disbelief among the risk or about the risk of COVID-19 in Nigeria. After a careful review of the national response, the Presidential Task Force believes that while the recent numbers point to a likely flattening of the curve, consistent with emerging epidemic control, Nigeria is not yet ready for full reopening of the economy.
COVID-19 is the new normal, but the level of adherence to the non-pharmaceutical measures suggests residents of the nation's capital want to return to their normal lives.
I wear it when it's necessary. I have a feeling it's not as it was anymore. I feel it has gone down compared to before. So I feel I can actually go about, like if you go to the marketplace now, you see that a lot of people are not wearing the face mask, and we are not hearing of cases and all of that. So I feel for now, I think the virus has subsided to a reasonable level, and so we can actually go about some places even without the face mask and we'll still be safe.
We take personal responsibility, like using hand wash, doing hand washing and other things. We take personal responsibility. Like myself, it's like, to me, washing of hand is an habit to me. Once I get home, I wash. I don't play with that. Even before Corona, it's my way of life.
So even though you're not wearing a face mask, you're not really worried that you'll catch it because you know that you wash your hands?
To me, I don't believe that wearing a face mask is the only way we can protect ourselves. There are many more ways we can protect ourselves.
If you're not putting on your face mask, you are actually putting others at risk. But putting the face mask is not convenient anyway, and this is not our way of life. So we're just managing to accept the face mask thing. And if you find yourself around people that are not putting on the face mask, you feel a little bit uncomfortable actually.
The nation's capital has reported over 5,800 cases and over 5,200 of them have recovered, but about 79 deaths have been recorded. For residents, adherence to the protocols is at their discretion as they see it as a requirement to access public offices.
It was an instruction given out by the COVID-19 committee that wherever you are going, you should put on your face mask to prevent you being infected from others and to keep a distance, because that is the preventive measure. And keeping of distance, washing your hand. If you are going to the bank, you must wash your hand. They will not allow you to enter the bank without putting on your face mask.
The difference is just for protection, to avoid the spread of COVID-19. And I feel government has mandated everyone to wear it, and that's why we are wearing it.
Some still have their doubts about the virus.
Here, I can't believe Corona Day in this Nigeria, because I don't even know somebody who get it. I don't even see somebody who get it. How can I trust? How can I believe? Because I live for all surrounded for Abuja and Kano, but still now I didn't see somebody who get coronavirus, and that is why in my mind, in our family, we know trust Corona Day in Nigeria.
The FCT is the first to start community testing and also the first to hit 1% population testing requirement of the World Health Organization. However, from the Federal Secretariat to bus stops, the level of compliance is poor and it's cause for worry.
The non-pharmaceutical are wash your hands, make sure you wear your face mask, ensure safety distance. Don't go out, you don't have to go out. Unfortunately, because of conspiracies and perceptions, people even believe that COVID is no longer there, and many of them, most people are not doing it. If you wear your face mask or you are washing your hand or you are putting sanitizer in your hand and you are going to the bathroom and you start for people, you are the one that is seen as abnormal. Until people ensure that we comply with these non-pharmaceutical measures on COVID-19, it's very dangerous. We may not get through to control the COVID. And it's killing people.
The concern is real as health authorities fear a second wave might occur if residents continue to disregard the COVID-19 protocols.
The danger of the second wave is that it comes when you are not really prepared. A lot of people are losing their guard, and before you know it, we are opening up spaces, all right? Schools are resuming, we have opened up the airlines, the businesses are, reopening. So people will be taken unawares and the casualties will be more because we have let down our guard. So it's really, really not a good thing to experience. Some countries that are experiencing, having relaxed the restrictions, now they're going back to those restrictions. So the simple thing to do, continue to wear your face mask, continue to distance socially and physically, and then maintain good personal hygiene. All right, wash your hands, soap, water, and then use your sanitizers as much as possible. So once in public places, we must continue to adhere to those preventive measures, or else we're going to have a more serious, wave of the disease with more casualties. And of course, you know that the resources may not even be there to address the pandemic as we did initially, because it has taken a lot of resources, as well as affected on the revenue coming into coffers of government.
Many people are not adhering to the use of face masks, proper use of face masks. And even when they use, they don't use properly. And then the use of hand sanitizer, hand washing is still very inadequate. So the risk is that we might have another wave. In as much as we are having less number of cases that we are identifying now, probably many people are not forthcoming to testing. We are not testing enough, though we have achieved the target set for every state to achieve. FCT is the first state that have achieved that target of testing at least 1% of the populace. We in FCT have achieved that. But when we look at it, many people are not coming forth for testing. So that means there might likely be another wave of infection if care is not taken. Schools are resuming. And infection of COVID, even if it's a child that gets in that infection in the community or in the setting of school, it might spread out to involve others. So the way it is, if we are not adhering or complying with the use of the face masks and other preventive measures, we might have another wave of transmission. And that is very tricky in that some of the schools don't even have clinics. Some of these schools don't have the medical personnel to manage these patients in case they are identified or they come down with disease. So we might have more people dying from the disease. We are not praying for it, but we need to just get prepared appropriately and adequately. So there is need for compliance and adherence to the use of the non-pharmaceutical measures, and then there is need for enforcement in the schools, at home, in all congregate settings, as the case may be. So government needs to do a lot of things now. Even when you go to churches, you find out that many people are coming to church without wearing the face mask. Social distancing, physical distancing is a problem. Many people are having parties, are going about their normal activities without even caring whether COVID is ongoing or not. The disease is ongoing, so we need to really be on top of the game to make sure that we don't have a second wave, we don't have further transmission, and then we encourage people to come forth for testing.
The nation's capital is returning to life as business activities pick up. However, the caution from the authorities is that residents should take personal responsibility to ensure that the virus does not continue to spread in the Federal Capital Territory. My guest this week is Dr. Mohammed Kawu, the Acting Secretary of the Federal Capital Territory Health and Human Services Secretariat. In July, Dr. Kawu himself tested positive for COVID-19 along with some members of his family. He walks us through his experience surviving COVID-19, successes and challenges faced by the FCT in the last 7 months while battling COVID-19, community testing, and the administration's readiness to deal with ramifications of ignoring the non-pharmaceutical guidelines. Dr. Mohammed Kawu, it's so nice to see you again.
Nice to see you, Kela.
How are you doing? Congratulations, by the way. I know you're one of the many survivors of the COVID-19 pandemic. Could you talk to us a bit about that experience? What was it like?
Yeah, thank you so much. I am one of those that survived with my family, of course. I got infected around June 23rd, and I was on admission at the treatment center for about 14 days. Wow. Me with my family, about 7 or 8 of them, we did well. We survived it. Mine and one of my doctors was severe, so we had to be treated with parenteral antibiotics. And we survived it, and everybody tested negative. Since then, we have been fine. No issue.
It's life different? the way you live your life? Because that's what COVID-19 does. It changes your perspective.
It did.
In what ways?
One, I relocated from where I was living.
Oh.
Yes, because where I was living was so open. People came into the house without announcement. Before you know it, you have visitors. Even when we knew there was COVID and people are not supposed to be moving around, people used to come around, especially my kids' friends. So when I was at the treatment center, I decided to get an accommodation, rented an apartment, left my house. My house was still empty. I rented an apartment in an estate where when you go to the gates,
they ask
you why they have to call. that was the first thing I did, because I felt really, I was exposing myself too much. There were people that did not believe in COVID-19 and they were living around my environment. I tried to make them understand. They didn't. So the first thing I did was to ensure that I get, for now, at least for 1 year, I should live in a place where I'm able to control who comes in, who goes out.
You know, the FCT, it's been 7 months. You've been handling this pandemic in the FCT for 7 months. And the FCT is lucky enough to be one of the subnationals, you know, experienced high numbers of cases. You know, some people say we flattened the curve here. But I want to go first of all to the fact that we had a high number of cases. What lessons did you learn from that process? And are you equipped to handle future epidemic? Because this was a test run, so to speak, for anything that may happen in the future. How did your office handle the high number of people who, you know, got the COVID-19, and, you know, what things have been put in place to ensure that we handle epidemics better in the future?
Yeah, thank you so much. I don't know if you say FCT is lucky to have high number, but probably we are lucky because we tested a lot. It may interest you to note that PTF announced 2 days ago that FCT is the only subnational that achieved the 1% target, testing 1% of the population. It's only FCT. Lagos achieved 97%, and it's closely followed FCT. So probably one of the reasons might have been because we tested a lot.
That success is actually being threatened right now, isn't it? We're looking at a massive reduction in compliance to the COVID-19 directives. Wearing of face masks has almost disappeared in many places. The initial thrust, where we saw people actually, you know, adhering to some of these guidelines given by the PTF. Are you concerned about this decline in compliance to these directives? And do you have fears of a second wave or a surge, as we're seeing in many countries, that are actually behaving the way we are behaving right now?
I am concerned because the best form of protection or prevention of this COVID-19 is the non-pharmacological means of protection. That's the face masks, the social distancing, and washing of hands either by using soap and water or the hand sanitizer. So we must continue to talk. We must ensure that we enforce it. And as I told you, we have our enforcement arm that is led by Atai Karo. And I think he's doing well, despite the challenges.
You have admitted that there is a massive decline in the adherence to these guidelines. Are you scared that this may cause a second wave or a surge in cases?
Yeah, based on what is happening all over the world, a lot of countries are experiencing second wave. So, not even being scarce, you must put it at the back of your mind and prepare should in case you have it.
Okay, so what preparations are there? If we're saying, okay, you know, we have to prepare for a second wave, just to be careful, what's in place to ensure that that's handled?
Everything that we did for the first wave is still in place. We have not dismantled anything. Rather, we are re-strategizing, reviewing, and seeing where we did not do well and ensure that we do well. Should in case we have second wave, which we don't pray. And we are not preparing for now. We are not preparing only for COVID. Because we've been having a lot of epidemics You know, we have been having Lassa fever around, meningitis, cholera, and all those things. So we are preparing for all those things. So our preparation is not only for COVID-19, but should COVID-19, should we have a second wave, I can assure you we are more than prepared. We pray we don't.
You know, the FCT was one of the first, in fact, it's the first subnational to initiate community testing, you know, and, you know, the PTF is considering setting aside a week for nationwide testing. They're trying to do this. What's the status of community testing in the FCT? And are there plans to continue community testing?
Yeah, presently community testing is ongoing, but during our intra-action review meeting, one of the key actions we want to take is to decentralize the testing and the fight to the area councils. And that's why the area councils were fully represented in those meetings. And we will ensure that each of the communities have a sample collection site, and the area council will drive that. In that way, we're able to ensure that all the communities get tested. Because this sickness, if you don't get tested, you will know you have it. So a country can decide to close itself from testing and pretend you don't have it. And that will be, people will be dying, you will know why they're dying. So you must do testing. And PTF has directed that communities should participate in the testing. So we have established more than 15 sample collection sites across the FCT. But presently, we are going down to the area council. We want the area council to take ownership. We can't continue to manage the pandemic at the center. So the chairman of area councils, the HOD heads of area councils, community leaders, and the partners will work with each of the area councils' health authorities and ensure that community justice goes there. So we'll just be supervising.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Mohammed Kau, for speaking with us, and good luck in the months to come. We want to hear from you on this topic. I'm curious to know where your head is at. Are you just done with all of it? If I die type mentality? Have you become complacent? Do you have unanswered questions about the pandemic in the nation's capital? Still having trust issues? No judgment. This is a safe space. You can let us know. We are all in this together. Hey, and we would love to help. So please use the social media handles on your screen to get in touch with us. Remember to always share with us the happenings in your neighborhood. Thank you for watching. I'm Kayla Megwa. See you next time.